Project Zomboid, a game that tells the story of your imminent death in the zombie apocalypse. Whether you make it 3 hours or 3 days comes down to the decisions you make and the random chaos of this new world. Today we are embarking on a journey with a truly random survivor, allowing the game to pick our traits, our looks, and our starting location. Meet Jamie Nichols, an obese police officer that has spent more time behind a desk than on patrol, and who is entirely unaware of the crumbling of society due to his fear of going outdoors. As this extremely unlikely survivor begins to realize what has happened, he thinks back to the oath of pacifism he had once taken following a deadly call. Having vowed never to harm another person again, he must struggle with separating these new shambling creatures from the people they once were. Hearing the strained cries of the hungry creatures outside, Jamie arms himself with a letter opener from his desk and begins to search his now vacant office building. Too afraid to step outside, he comforts himself with the last bag of chips and a vending machine he had grown all too fond of during his shifts. Realizing how sparse the building was for supplies, Jamie finally swallows his fears and crawls his way out the back door. Creeping to a nearby car, he is able to snatch a garden rake before the first rotting biter begins to close in. Too scared to fight in the open and surrounded by fog, Jamie retreats back inside to clumsily deal with the first true threat. Knowing that the meager weapons he had secured wouldn't protect him for long, Jamie looks across the street and spots a nearby hardware store, though it is guarded by a few stray shamblers. Cutting down 2 more infected, he eventually makes it across the road and inside the empty business. Scanning and searching the shelves, he is thrilled to discover a variety of essential tools: hammers, axes, crowbars, and other vital supplies that could secure his safety. Unable to move the majority of the loot, Jamie decides to try and clear the rest of the building in hopes of establishing a safe house for the foreseeable future. Sneaking to the next door business, a large hint of the horrors of the undead is revealed as a sizable group mindlessly shuffle outside the large windows. Too afraid to draw their attention, Jamie opts to investigate the upstairs apartments, where a constant battering sound can be heard. Suddenly jumped by ravenous sports fans, Jamie has to truly fight for his life for the first time. Only feeling the sudden panic dwindle as the third corpse is dealt with and the building grows quiet. Feeling the first bit of hope since the adventure has begun, he begins to search the 2 empty residences he now has access to. Discovering a small amount of food, a handful of ammo, a hiking backpack, and a rifle, Jamie curses his lengthy absence from the firing range and decides it's best to save the firearm for when his nerves calm down. Consolidating the essentials into an easily retrievable bug-out bag, Jamie's paranoia leads him to begin constructing multiple escape routes from the elevated apartment. Nailing down various escape ropes from a handful of the windows, he finally feels brave enough to peek out towards the alleyway to learn of his surroundings. Spying a parking lot not too far away, he wonders if he could feasibly make it to a working vehicle, but is quickly interrupted by another zombie looking to spread its infection. Deciding his new goal was fighting to one of the nearby cars in the morning, Jamie retreats back upstairs and positions himself a large chair as an emergency barricade against the undead. Not yet able to sleep following the terrifying day, Jamie begins the arduous task of slimming down in front of the unmanned broadcast of the TV. Sleeping through the night, Jamie wakes up the next day with the singular focus of acquiring a vehicle. Though as he makes his way downstairs, he hears a concerning amount of moaning coming from the garage door. Peeking open the back door, his worst fears are realized as the once clear alleyway is now infested with the undead. Trying his best to lure the horrific creatures in slowly, Jamie is eventually overwhelmed by their numbers and forced to retreat upstairs. Biding his time, he strikes forth from his apartment once more, in hopes of clearing at least the back room, but is quickly faced with the unending numbers of the horde as he flees yet again. Desperate to buy himself as much time as possible, he barricades the staircase and cowers in his home as he hurriedly attempts to formulate a plan. Given precious little time, he hears the poor barricade crumble from the undead, daring once more to try and clear the building before it's too late. Suddenly met with a hungry wall of rotten flesh, Jamie knows his home is compromised as he dashes to collect his belongings and dives out the nearby window. Racing across the rooftops, he begs for mercy from the relentless hordes, but is given no relief as his pursuers come pouring out behind him. Leaping from the roof, Jamie fears his time is up as he attempts a mad dash out of town, knowing that he wouldn't be safe until he struck out into the wilderness. Overburdened, exhausted, and terrified, Jamie wills his feet forward as the strangled cries of the infected haunt his steps. Dashing through the trees and stumbling upon an empty dirt road, he knows that if he's chased any further, he's surely dead, deciding to throw himself into the forest one final time in a truly desperate attempt.